All right, now the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important choke points through which nearly about 20% of the global oil supplies move through. And to tell us what is happening at the Strait of Hormuz and why it has acquired so much significance in this war, my colleague Molly Gambhir tells you more.
All right, so a lot to unpack, especially with the kind of statements that have been doing the rounds. Let's just give you all the context that you need at this point. Now, starting with U.S. President Donald Trump extending that deadline for strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure by 10 days, basically. Last week, remember, Trump had given Tehran a 48-hour ultimatum to open the Strait of Hormuz or face strikes on its power plants. Now, this deadline extension, pretty much twice in the last 7 days, once again putting the spotlight on the strategically critical waterway, the Strait of Hormuz. But before we get into that, what makes this waterway so crucial? Let's just play out for you what Donald Trump said at that cabinet meeting briefing yesterday, saying that Iran was letting 10 oil tankers transit through the Strait of Hormuz as a present to the United States. Trump also said the gesture convinced him that Tehran is serious about reaching a deal. Let's listen to this first.
8 big tankers are going loaded up with oil right through. And I said, well, I guess they were right, and they were real. And I think they were Pakistani flagged. Yes. And I said, well, I guess we're dealing with the right people. And actually, they then apologized for something they said, and they said, we're going to send 2 more boats.
All right, so that's what President Trump said. Now, whether a deal actually materializes or not, what remains undisputed right now is that Tehran maintains an absolute chokehold over the crucial Strait of Hormuz, and this is why. The strait, remember, is just 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, just 33 kilometers. And that leaves very little room for ships to make any maneuvers in case they are attacked. That's not all. Iran's long coastline, 1,609 kilometers to be specific, that's the number. That coastline gives it enormous geographical and tactical advantage in targeting the ships transiting the strait. And so for every ship transiting the Strait of Hormuz, the threats are multifold. Reports say Iran has laid sea mines throughout the strait, which effectively converts this passage into a kill zone, reportedly. Iran also believed to have deployed small crude vessels packed with explosives that can attack tankers. That's not all. Another lethal weapon being in Tehran's arsenal, the cheap Shahed attack drones. The missiles needed to shoot them down, costing millions. And America is already running low on stockpiles, reportedly, remember. So that's the other concern, the cheap drones versus what it takes to actually shoot them down. Adding to all of this, the threat from the submarines and also the land-based missiles, which also makes transiting the strait a nightmare in a way. And according to reports, some 2,000 vessels are stranded in the region, with few willing to actually take the risk of transiting without Iran's explicit content. So that's what the situation is looking like. Nearly 2,000 vessels. That's the impact that we are talking about. Reports also saying Iran is now planning to weaponize the chokehold and actually charge toll or fees for every ship that it lets through the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC and the Iranian Navy, in fact, already forcing ships to take an alternative route, which would also push them even closer to the Iranian coastline. So that's what the route would look like. That's the normal route, and that is the route that we just spoke about, just to give you a better sense. So that route, bringing the ships closer to the Iranian coastline, allowing the IRGC to visually verify vessels and issue permits. So that's the implication. And so far, at least 20 vessels have been attacked. Leading insurance companies reportedly to also hike war risk premiums for shipping vessels. So that's the other effect. Reports also saying insurance premiums are up by as much as 25 times, making transiting through the Strait of Hormuz both risky and, of course, expensive. And the blocking of this strait has also led to a global energy crisis. Let's just also break that down for you. We're looking at the impact on several countries. While India also felt the pain initially, things have started to change. The Iranian minister, remember, said that India is among the 5 countries that will be accorded safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. So far, 6 ships have reached India, reportedly, the latest one being the one that's docked at a Gujarat port just today. We've been telling you about that. Reports also saying that dozens of India-bound ships could transit soon, easing this energy crisis. So that's what the situation looks like as far as India is concerned. Back to you, Salih, for now.